Hello everyone. So today I'm going to talk about my independent research. I know that most of you may know that I am a independent researcher for psycholinguistics, and that has been the majority of my content. I want to share with you a bit of an overview of what I've been working on, and we're going to get started. As mentioned, my focus area is psycholinguistics, which is the psychology of language acquisition, or in layman's terms, psychology of language learning, like what goes through your brain when you're trying to learn a new language. The reason for this is that, my background is in the fashion industry, and I had learned French from the time I was very, very young, about middle school, late elementary, early middle school, about 11 years old. I had worked my way up to advanced placement, or AP French, all the way up until about my last year of high school. It was a language I was very passionate about. Had really great teachers from middle school to high school, and I felt that when I got to college, I did not want to lose everything that I had just worked so hard to learn. Given the fact that I knew that I was going to go to fashion school, I knew that I wanted to do something along the lines of being the next Diane von Furstenberg, because she was the designer I really admired at the time. Later on, I did a study abroad program in Paris back in 2018 during that summer. And my experience was very different from a lot of the other students who went with me in this program. It was a 2-week program. It wasn't very long. But you could just tell the difference with the fact that I had worked so hard to get to a point where I'm here in this country. I don't need to use English all the time because I had built some form of proficiency to survive. In addition to that, I had in my last year of college, I had learned Spanish and German simultaneously. So I was looking into different methods of self-learning, and I encountered so many people who were like, "Oh, okay, like I learned a X language in school and I don't remember any of it." And I kept hearing this over and over and over again, and I felt like I really wanted to look into why is that? Why is it that we keep forgetting what we've learned in school? And it's just late, or maybe later on when I started teaching, I discovered that all these adults were coming to me saying, "Yeah, I learned this language and I don't remember any of it, but now it's relevant to me," and trying to make the connection there. So in terms of like my questions, I was just curious as to where is this disconnect in terms of the relevancy. I see so many people trying to learn Spanish, seeing people saying, "Yeah, I'm learning this new language on Duolingo." I actually had a phone call with the old classmate of mine from college, and she married a guy who's he's basically Dutch, but I think his family origin is Indonesian or something. But she said, "Yeah, I'm learning Dutch on Duolingo, and I think I just need to be consistent with it for me to really master it." And I was thinking, oh, that's really interesting. I mean, it's crazy when I'm out in public and I'll hear the Duolingo ding, or that little sound when you get an answer correct. And I'm like, someone's on Duolingo. So yeah, where's the disconnect to where there's this gap from high school and then later on in adulthood when we're seeing, oh, look at, I'm learning this language now, years later. That was the other thing. I wanted to know, why are so many people learning languages on Duolingo? Not to say that was a bad thing. I was just thinking that, Duolingo is a very accessible tool. But I'm thinking, why is everyone why is everyone learning a new language? And on top of that, it was like everyone's on Duolingo. So it really just tells me, why is everybody learning a language? I guess that's more of a specific question is, why is everyone learning a new language? And it's yeah, they're using Duolingo, but it's just everyone's on Duolingo. It's like how everyone's on TikTok, but Duolingo instead. And I wanted to see, where is there room for improvement in the United States education system to foster more bilingual students? Because we're seeing so many opportunities for languages to really be implemented in terms of the work that people are doing. I mean, you have diplomats. They need to be speaking another language. I don't care who you are, but diplomats need to be speaking foreign languages. Anyone who does anything in the military, anybody who's doing things related to immigration, I think you should probably be learning a second language. If you are working for a business or that has international ties, or you work with clients who have a particular like a particular L1 or whatever their native language is, you gotta learn something. If there's a foreign language deficit and there's a lot of high needs, why aren't we making it a priority instead of sweeping that under the rug as if it's going to go away? I mean, English has now become a lingua franca, and if you go through history, it's been shifting. I can't remember when the switch was, but for a very long time, especially during the Renaissance, French was a very important language to learn. French, German, I believe Russian at a certain point, based on like the fact that at the time philosophy, the Reformation, and all these things were going on historically, to where certain places became a mecca of those industries, like philosophy, Voltaire. Then you've got, I think, like all of these different thinkers, and Victor Hugo. Particularly writing was very much a big thing, especially like in the arts, like opera. Those were big centers of French. You had German, and then you had, I believe, Italian. So depending on what industry or what art form or career path you were going on, people were pretty much learning languages that were based in their career. So that's just kind of what they did. So I'm just thinking that, you know, it doesn't go away, because no matter what, right now the lingua franca is English, but we don't know what that's going to look like in another century. So some of my leading observations. So the majority of students that I teach are adults. The languages that they're learning have become relevant to them. So it's like, okay, I learned this language, but now it's relevant to me now. Another thing that I've observed is intercultural relationships and traveling for, you know, are very common reasons. I know I have a client who is 65. She travels a lot. She's retired. Her children are pretty much like my age, so they're adults, able to take care of themselves. You know, so it's like I need to make sure that I am having really giving myself a really good travel experience. I mean, it really makes a difference. And I know from personal experience. And then there's the fact that, like I said, intercultural relationships. People are marrying people of all different races, nationalities. The world is just kind of meshing itself together these days. So it's really difficult for me to believe that learning a language is not relevant to that. So a lot of times with my young students who are in school, I usually will ask them about their classwork and what's going on. And a lot of times I notice that we actually are moving a lot faster. Obviously this is one-on-one, so it's very much personalized. But what I'm seeing is that I'm teaching a student I'm teaching one student, she's in high school. I think she's a freshman right now. But she was telling me that they're just now getting to Passé Composé, is the second semester of the school year. And I had been teaching her Passé Composé last year. And I went over with her conditional. Eventually I went over the subjunctive, and we started doing exercise work. I mean, I just felt like we were moving a lot quicker working one-on-one. And that's for obvious reasons. Obviously, because like I said, we're working one-on-one and at her own pace. And so she's like, yeah, I'm doing this in class. We're working on Passé Composé, and I'm just kind of flying through it. So there's this aspect of maintaining a certain level of rigor and creating challenges for students. Like there's certain students, like especially in a classroom setting, on how to, I'm looking at the fact that, of course, as a classroom, you have to cater to so many different students at different learning levels, and they may learn things differently, and that's perfectly fine. Aspect of the fact that looking at the EU, and they have people who are fluent in 3 languages by 14. And she's 14, and we're trying to get to a point where we're conversational to a higher degree. And that's something that I looked at and said, how are we moving at a slower pace? They're moving at a quicker pace. What are they doing differently? Which is one of my questions, essentially. But like when I do a deep dive in terms of the education system, but I think that I've noticed that usually with me and my students, we're moving at a quicker pace than most classrooms. And I have taught classrooms, and I'm doing the best I can to keep everyone on the same page and just making sure that I'm varying different activities so that people can kind of click with different things. But it just really all depends. The other thing I have observed is this aspect of confidence. Confidence is such a key problem. I have the same student. I noticed that when I first started working with her, it would take her a very long time to answer a question that I ask her every week, which is, t'as passé une bonne semaine? Like, did you have a good week? And a lot of times what I noticed was when she'll respond, I'm like, that's correct. Or she might say, oui. Like, I'm like, no, that's not what I asked. That doesn't correspond with what I asked. And then she would tell me, well, I was afraid it was wrong. And the thing is my goal is to create a judgment-free learning environment because I want my students to feel comfortable making mistakes. It's perfectly fine. Like, I love this student. I honestly have so much patience for her because I understand. And then I also noticed that over time, as we've been working together for about over a year, I noticed in the last session that I worked with her, her hesitation just started slowly going down. So the key is just really building confidence to make mistakes because it's a guarantee. You're gonna sound like an idiot at least once or twice in your lifetime. Me, I've sounded like an idiot multiple times across multiple languages. So it's not like I said, I teach from experience. It's not so much as like I'm just this, why are you not getting it kind of thing. But that's one of my leading observations is confidence. And I think that that's something that I really have to hammer on because, again, the confidence is know that you're here, you're paying me to help you. And if I'm creating an environment where you feel you're not safe to tell me what's going on in your brain, that's a me problem. So that's something that I feel like even as an educator to take time to get students comfortable being able to answer questions or say something even if it's wrong and then gently correcting them so that they can get better the next time. And one of the things that I also observed is there's a focus that's more on grammatical concept rather than applied grammatical concepts. So applying them. A lot of my students have told me that they've learned a lot of grammar, maybe some vocabulary, but they don't know how to use it. And so for me, in terms of how I've taught, I usually try to make sure that it's relevant to them. So, okay, we're going to learn about the conditional tense. Like when I first started teaching about conditional, I'm like, okay, so what do you think that this mood is? So I'm like, there are 3 words that you use in English that are equivalent to this. Anytime you say should, would, could, automatically conditional. Anytime you're tempted to use that, that's conditional. So I kind of get in their mindset that this is what you need to think about. If you're thinking in English, oh, I wish I could have done better on my test. Should. I know in my mind that I'm using this tense to kind of like equate what they already know, to connect that. And then, so now how do we conjugate that? How do we put that together? So it's more of like, okay, look, I'm trying to have a conversation. I'm trying to talk about things that I talk about. And I just want to put those grammatical concepts in perspective to what I'm doing here. In terms of like my pedagogy, my goal is to find as many engaging ways to teach based on what's relevant to the student, which I just mentioned, but that's a really big priority for me, is making it relevant to the student. And I think that anytime people come to me when they're looking for advice on self-guided studies, it's the same thing. Look for what's relevant to you. I've looked at psychological roadblocks that prevent students from moving forward. So I notice sometimes with students, I'm like, tell me what you just read, like just in a nutshell. And they'll read off and I said, no. You read the sentence in your own words. What do you feel like you understood? Because it's not about reading something word for word and getting it right. My goal is that I want you to understand, even if like you don't use the exact definition, there's a lot of synonyms across any language. And it's like, well, I basically feel like they're asking me this. That's correct. And then I will give the technical translation. But I'm saying is, I'm proud of you for understanding that this is what this meant, even if you don't know exactly. Like I tell them all the time, if you don't know a certain word, skip it. Go through the whole sentence and then try to fill in the blank based on what you read in between the lines. So it's really just about making it more about like how people think and then trying to find solutions to get them out of those mindset traps. Trying to create an effective method for self-studying that has become the norm. So that's part of it is that I have a student who always says, Jazz, I didn't do my homework. I didn't study last week. I'm like, I don't care if you studied or not. The whole point is that I want you to find something relevant. If it feels like you have to study, like that's like the thing you're trying to do. I gotta study. It's gonna feel like school. And this is not school. Like I said, this student I'm teaching is 65. School is something that was long in the past. It's more about making it fun and applicable. So usually a lot of times if I give homework or I call it suggested homework because this is not school, I'm like, yeah, like do you do yoga? She's like, yeah, I go to classes all the time. I will give you recommendations for yoga videos in Spanish. You can learn your vocabulary and do yoga at the same time, those kinds of things. is that I just feel like more American adults are learning a second language, if not more, just because they see the relevance of it. And I even have one student who plans to move abroad. I just got notice earlier this week that he passed his A1 proficiency exam with the Goethe Institute. And I was so shocked at how great he did. I mean, I do the best that I can as a teacher, but it's just a sense of pride knowing that like he's gonna be able to have, like, he's passed a proficiency test that he can hand in to the consulate for when he gets his visa and he and his wife move to Germany. I mean, that is just fantastic. I mean, he got a 95%. And I helped him do that. So, I mean, like, when I'm looking at that is that I'm helping people to move abroad and helping people be able to be proficient to communicate in a foreign country. Because I'm going to tell you right now, language skills are going to really be an enhancer. It's a powerful tool. And because international interactions are really relevant and it's important to help adults, but also set students up for a variety of opportunities. And it's really just overall about human connection. And it's amazing when you're not limited to who you can talk to. That's just a nutshell of what my independent research is all about. This is very informative for you, and I hope this really gives you a sense of if you're learning a language or if you've wanted to learn a language, now you understand why it's so important. Through language learning, that will also open up more opportunities for you. All right, thanks so much for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. Please give me some comments because I would love to know if you have any thoughts or anything like that. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.